Dune Prophecy is right around the corner, and with there being a lot of anticipation for the new Max show, we've now got even more updates to further spice things up. In particular, there's a new article over on Entertainment Weekly that gives us new images, further new details, and most importantly, a clearer idea of the show's timeline. Now, you may think that this is the same timeline as the one in the book that Dune Prophecy is based on, but producer Alison Schapker has revealed that there will be multiple timelines in this adaptation. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing all the new details that came out surrounding Dune Prophecy and giving you my thoughts towards them. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my content surrounding Dune Prophecy, Messiah, and beyond, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating and subscribing to the channel. But without further ado, let's dive into all the new details surrounding Dune Prophecy. So the upcoming series on Max, Dune Prophecy, is now only 2 months away from releasing. The story, set 10,000 years before the events of Denis Villeneuve's Dune films, centres on 2 Harkonnen sisters as they face off against threats to humanity's future while laying the groundwork for the legendary sect that will eventually be known as the Bene Gesserit. The series will also showcase characters from 2 other iconic families featured in the films, specifically in the Carino and Atreides families. And now the series has received new official images, interviews with the showrunners, and within those discussions, some big details on the timeline of the new show. To start with, the new photos feature the Harkonnen sisters Valia, played by Emily Watson, and Tula, portrayed by Olivia Williams. They are expected to be the key characters involved with the rise of the Bene Gesserit Order within the Galactic Empire. There are also some other photos of new characters like Edward Davis as Harrow Harkonnen and Mark Addy as Evgeny Harkonnen. Furthermore, we get photos of Viking star Travis Fimmel playing the Emperor's loyal soldier Desmond Hart, Chris Mason playing Kieran Atreides, Mark Strong as Emperor Javico Carino, and Jodie May as Empress Natalia, and finally a shot of Chloe Leah's Lila. But coming now to the details shared in the Entertainment Weekly article, we get a much deeper perspective on what the approach is for the showrunners of Prophecy. Alison Schapker said, "We get to see how it all started. When we meet Valia Harkonnen, she is a girl whose family has experienced a tremendous fall from power and has lost its noble status. She dreams of restoring what she feels is rightfully theirs. How she goes from being someone obsessed with rebuilding her noble house to being someone who is dedicated to the sisterhood above all is a big part of the story. It's not a girlhood coming of age narrative so much as a woman's rise to power from a Harkonnen perspective." Now, of course, the Harkonnens are portrayed clearly as villains in the movies, but this much older look at them will start to fill us in on how we get to that. Set in the distant past, the series has the chance to enrich this dynamic, introducing complexity and depth to a house that has primarily been characterized by its nefarious deeds. By showcasing the Harkonnens in a vulnerable position, the show could then enhance the portrayal of them in Villeneuve's films. For instance, even though the show unfolds 10,000 years earlier, it could shed light on the house's motivations and thirst for power. So with an extended runtime and a fresh perspective, the series can significantly deepen the broader Dune narrative while still crafting out its own tale. Although it will be a challenge to replicate the grandeur and epic nature of Villeneuve's films, the journey of Valia and Tula Harkonnen has the potential to do it in its own way. And according to Schapker's remarks, it appears that Prophecy will delve deeply into its characters in a format that the franchise has yet to explore, making it an exciting venture. Emily Watson also spoke on playing her role in the interview with Entertainment Weekly, saying, "I've never really done anything like this before. Most of the work I've done so far in my career has been very much based in reality. Getting my head around all the Dune lore and language was a new thing for me. But within that, I found a really rich acting territory. It's quite complex and it's a really fun world to play in. It was very exciting, but also very great to go into that world with the security of knowing I've got the skill set to make everything feel real. It's a very interesting palette because it's not childish, it's not like Star Wars. It It has a moral complexity which to me is interesting. And this brings us to what was then said about the timeline of the show. Speaking with EW, Schapker offered clarity on how timelines will be approached and how that will affect the show's central characters. The showrunner revealed that Valia's narrative will unfold through various timelines, as it will occasionally refer to Frank Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson's prequel novel, The Sisterhood of Dune. But then beyond that, it will also tap into a future timeline as well. Schapker confirms that while the Sisterhood of Dune book serves as the foundation for Prophecy, her and her team embraced expansion in their adaptation. She said, "I really believe that we found the best of both worlds when it comes to the adaptation. Sisterhood of Dune was our seminal text that we were working with and drawing inspiration from. Our story is tethered to the events in that book, but we also are telling a story that takes place 30 years after the events of the book. So we have both the book to draw from, but we also have room to develop our characters and tell the story of Valia Harkonnen across multiple timelines. A hallmark of Dune is that time is not just linear. Some of our characters are actively communicating with their female ancestors at any given time. There are hidden histories and secrets to be discovered in the past that very much influence the present as our characters design the future. We wanted to create a series that allowed history to be alive, and that meant spending some of our time in the past." So based on those comments, it's now laid out to us that Dune Prophecy is going to weave its story through various time periods, with characters consistently aware of their past, present and future. The Bene Gesserit, when they attain the title of Reverend Mother, gain extraordinary powers to tap into the memories of all the Reverend Mothers that precede them. And as the showrunner highlighted, the multi-timeline approach reflects the very nature of the characters and the story they are telling. So they were all the details we got in that new interview over on Entertainment Weekly, and now that I've discussed what was said, it's time to talk about whether this sounds like a good idea. Now, when it comes to the approach of going beyond the timeline presented in the Sisterhood of Dune book, I'm interested in that unique direction. I think having both book readers and newcomers go into a spin-off show, not knowing all the details and experiencing this project on its own, is something that, if it works, will be satisfying to all. Not to mention that the Dune prequel books and installments written by Frank Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson have had mixed reactions over the years they've released in. So really, they can make Dune Prophecy an expansion of the text it's based on, and then not have to worry about how readers will look at the things they've done beyond the timeline of the adapted book. That being said, Schapker did clarify that a part of it would be set during those events, and that we'd be jumping between two timelines 30 years apart. One around the events of Sisterhood, and then one decades later. So they are still using the events of that book to shape the timeline that they are telling beyond Sisterhood, and in doing so, it doesn't sound like they are changing vital story points from that book. They are using it as a guide into the story of Prophecy and the characters that form that story. And speaking of the characters, that was another positive that I took from the interview with the showrunner. Although Schapker clarified that there will be multiple timelines in the show, the promising part of this approach is that she insisted that the characters would remain grounded. It's a fascinating entry point, and the new timeline details suggest that it will be able to breathe on its own. I think it allows audiences who have read the other books in Herbert's universe to approach it with fresher eyes. Yes, they'll be making sure all the lore and details of it mostly stay true, but seeing the story go beyond that Sisterhood book could allow for a separated and hopefully unique narrative to follow. It will be fascinating to witness a family known for creating numerous villains in the first two Dune films, portrayed from a position of vulnerability, ultimately driving their ambition to cling to power. Now, while I'm saying that this approach can work really well, I also remain a bit hesitant towards the reasoning behind this direction. And the reason I say that is because it's known that Dune Prophecy had had many issues during its production, and also replacements when it comes to the creative team working on it. And with that in mind, it does make me think that maybe some of these decisions, like the timeline of the show being 30 years beyond the events of the adapted book, could be because previous directions were more focused around that normal timeline. And maybe because they couldn't get it to work, they decided to have this multi-timeline approach. Now, I'm not saying this is the case, and it could very well be just a case of standard creative differences, but the new timeline reveals that were highlighted here do make me think about that, and it just adds an extra level of caution going into it. At the end of the day, we'll just have to see if the show turns out to be good, and I hope that after all the issues it faced during production, that it can end up being a great installment in this expanded Dune universe. And again, while there is this worry, I do mostly like the sound of them taking a unique approach to that sisterhood storyline. But that was my video discussing the timeline reveals and new details for Dune Prophecy. I will be doing more videos during the build up to the show this November, including any new footage or updates from the upcoming series. But are you excited for Dune Prophecy? What do you think of the revealed timeline of the show? And do you think it can live up to the quality that Denis Villeneuve's adaptation brought to the big screen? Let me know down below in the comments section. For much more videos and news on Denis Villeneuve's Dune universe, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.